Great to see you guys. We've not had news for a little while, so we're going to get to some of the big stuff we've missed in the past week or so. We have box office for you. We have a new number one at the box office, and that is Blue Beetle. However, Blue Beetle didn't really do all that well. It made like $25 million, which is a soft opening, as they say in the biz, but it was enough to unseat Barbie for the first time in several weeks. It has been at number one. Now Blue Beetle is. It's a bummer that Blue Beetle didn't do better because it's really fun. And I wonder whether it's the end of August. Everyone's going back to school. The marketing for it kind of sucked. And I think at least in Southern California, we had this huge storm on the weekend. So I think like Saturday, everyone was freaking out, making plans. I went to
filling
Costco.
Sandbags.
No, for sure. I went to Costco and it was like COVID era levels of panic and
I bet.
bottled water and paper towel purchases. It was stupid. But I think a lot of folks in like Los Angeles, San Diego, a lot of Latino families in this area might have gone to see Blue Beetle and didn't. So they must have heard it, I'm guessing.
In the Inland Empire in the desert where they really got hit harder, I think, by it.
I agree.
I think a lot of those factors play in. It's a character that people haven't seen in other movies, so it's an introduction. Not the biggest star wattage names on the marquee, although it's a great cast. I think there was a combination of factors. The fact, obviously, that none of them could promote the film,
Right, that too.
Let's not forget, that all happening. So, and I think for a lot of the really hardcore superhero audience, seeing a movie is an investment in the next 5 movies. They can't miss an MCU movie because they know it's all going to factor into this show and that movie, and so coming at the dead tail end of the sort of pre-James Gunn era, if we're going to call it that, I'm sure for a lot of them it was like, well, is this movie going to matter?
Right.
Are we ever going to see this character again? I don't know. So there were a lot of things that were sort of stacked against it, but I'm glad at least the reviews were good. Yeah,
maybe it'll have legs, right? Because is there really anything in the next few weeks that fills that void? I mean, Gran Turismo.
Yeah, I mean, not really. I mean, this is, we're getting into like the Labor Day dead zone.
Doldrums.
So I mean, so it's quite possible that people will have time to discover it, and if there's good word of mouth, that never hurts. So we'll see what happens.
So Barbie now has surpassed The Dark Knight to be the biggest release ever for Warner Brothers.
Nice.
Yeah, last I checked, it has made like $1.25 billion globally.
Very cool.
So that is very exciting. And for people who maybe didn't go see Blue Beetle last weekend, this Sunday is National Cinema Day.
Yes, I've gotten some emails about that.
Every ticket in every format for every movie is $4.
Wow.
So for only $4, you could go see Oppenheimer in IMAX, right? Like what a deal that is.
Gran Turismo in IMAX.
Gran Turismo in IMAX, which you should see it that way for sure. So that's exciting. Plus they're getting on that Greta Gerwig bandwagon. They're re-releasing Lady Bird in theaters, and they're doing a sing-along of The Little Mermaid. Which could be fun. So all that is happening on this Sunday in the United States, at least. It's National Cinema Day. Just this morning, we got a trailer for the 2-part Zack Snyder extravaganza, Rebel Moon.
Walk me through this, because I never knew this existed until now.
What do you think they want?
This is a thing that he's been working on for a really long time. He directed it and co-wrote it. And originally it was going to be a Star Wars movie. That's how he pitched it, was to be something within the Star Wars realm. And then Disney bought Lucasfilm, and then that didn't happen. But he's been tinkering with it and playing with it. And it is his big sci-fi opera. And it's got this giant cast. It's like Sophia Boutella, Jaimin Hunsu, Charlie Hunnam, Corey Stoll, Anthony Hopkins, Duna Bay, Junkie XL did the music. And so it is now going to be a 2-film thing on Netflix. The first part comes out on December 22nd. Second part comes out in April of next year.
Is this Zack Snyder's The Orville?
No, because it's not funny.
Well, not
Zack
intentionally.
Snyder's not funny.
But I mean, is The Orville either? Like, I got the impression that it kind of, I barely watched, I think I watched one, but like that he's not really spoofing Star Trek. He's just sort of doing, like it's a cover of
Oh.
Star Trek or something.
I think if anything, it feels like his Dune. It feels like a big epic, like it's sci-fi, but it's also the desert and it's also giant warring armies and like one person who can save them all and lead them to freedom.
Is it the desert outside of Vegas by chance?
So that is happening. And I would assume that you guys are interested in that. So we may have to look at that when that happens. You'll have to let us know.
Sure. Why not?
Yeah. So that's not coming for a little ways down the road, but it's coming out like the first part of it is coming out like in the height of Christmas movie season, in the height of like big year-end holiday stuff. So they must feel really good about it if that's when they're putting it out.
Yeah, I guess so. And I mean, I would imagine that this sounds like one of the ones that Netflix would actually put some effort into getting it into theaters for a couple of weeks before it launches on the service, which I'm sure they're also going to do with Maestro.
Right. Oh, right. Maestro came out. There's that whole controversy with Maestro because the trailer for that came out, and there's this whole controversy with Bradley Cooper, who is not Jewish, wearing prosthetic nose to look more like Leonard Bernstein.
Yes.
And a lot of concern about that coming out around the same time as like Golda comes out this week. Right. And Helen Mirren also has similar prosthetics to play Golda Meir.
Well, I can't speak to the Golda Meir stuff, but I mean, Bernstein's living children have all said, like, yeah, we were fine with this. We signed off on the way that he's making himself look to play our dad. It's fine by us. Mark Harris wrote a really good piece, which he often does.
Of course.
Basically telling everybody to calm the fuck down about the nose already.
Now, is Maestro playing at Venice? You're about to go to Venice, right?
It is. I'm going to be reviewing it out of there, yeah.
Okay, well, I look forward to hearing your thoughts on that as to how it is as a movie, aside from all of the off-screen concern about it. Speaking of off-screen concerns and controversies, the whole Blind Side thing, we got to talk about that.
Yeah.
Right? Heartwarming story. Wins Sandra Bullock her Best Actress Oscar. But now Michael Oher is saying that they tricked him, that the family tricked him into signing something when he was over 18 that he thought was something else, that was adoption papers, but actually it was conservatorship.
Yeah, here we are again at conservatorships. You know, they really often come up in the news as something not good, and that people use as a manipulation or a way to control people. And I mean, Michael has been saying this for years now. This isn't like a new thing, but I believe, I don't know if there's now like litigation pending or why this is back in the news. But I mean, yeah, there's been no love lost there with the adoptive parents for a while now, I think.
Right. He's written books about it. And now they are countersuing him for like $15 million for defamation anyway. So we'll follow that.
Nothing says I'm not in this for the money, like suing someone for more money.
Britney Spears and Sam Asghari are divorcing after 14 months of marriage. Speaking of conservatorship, she came out of hers and she married him and has expressed a great deal of thrill at her freedom, right? Like if you follow her on Instagram, there's a lot of twirling in bikinis, and she posted something where she's dancing to If by Janet Jackson, and she posted a whole thing about how you know, everything looks perfect from the outside on my Instagram, but it's really not. And I've had to be daddy's proud soldier or brave soldier. I'm thinking like, girl, everything does not look perfect on your Instagram, but okay. It looks a little concerning.
More power to her. And I think that the ex was sort of like, I read something along the lines where basically he was trying to negotiate in their, what their split arrangement would be like, basically kind of threatening that he was going to go public with certain things. And a lot of people are already like, dude, shut the fuck up. This is not the time to like try and be threatening. You're already not looking great here. And she did sign a prenup. So, there's that. So
good. Yeah. So that happened. But don't cry for Britney. She'll be fine. And then Charles Martinet, the longtime voice of Mario. It's a him, Mario. He is retiring as Mario. He has been the voice of Mario since the video game first began in 1991. Right. Well, though, when was Donkey Kong? That was like the 80s. I guess whenever the
Girl,
first.
I don't know.
I don't know. You guys can correct me, and I'm sure you will in a very kind and polite way. But he's been the voice of Mario since 1991 until this year. He is retiring. He is the guy that we can thank for the phrase "It's a me, Mario." He will now be the Mario ambassador.
Well, you know,
whatever that is.
once you hear Chris Pratt do it, it's kind of like, well, that's it for me. I'm packing it in.
Yes.
This guy really gets to the soul of a character.
But the story of how he got this gig is pretty funny. Like, he went to Cal and he just like stumbled into an audition, and they wanted an Italian plumber. And he thought, oh, I can't do like the gravelly voice. He was like the last guy they saw. And he's like, I can't do like a gravelly Brooklyn voice. And so he did the voice that is Mario, and everyone's like, what is this sorcery? And so he became Mario.